Good morning, everybody. This is Stephen Pugh of the Home Bible College. It is September the 19th, and we're going to be reading together in a new book today. It's Ecclesiastes and the first 3 chapters. Now, I'm not sure whether I need to read every little bit of all of the 3 chapters, but I want to bring to you my password for today. But let's start at the beginning and we'll see how we go. Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 1, it says, the words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. And then he says, and this is the password for today, he says, vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Now we need to ask ourselves, what really does this word vanity mean? And it means emptiness. And the concept of vanity is that there is nothing in it, that it is shallow, it is surface, it is pointless. That's the point. And so what we have is the thinking of King Solomon. King Solomon was the greatest man that ever lived in his day. He had all the wisdom of all men. He had all the wealth of all men. He had all the power of all men. He had all the women. That was unbelievable. And yet in all of that, he found that it was pointless. And so the message of Ecclesiastes is that all human life ultimately is pointless without God. That's the point, that without God it's pointless. So let's read on. It says, what profit hath a man in all his labour which he taketh under the sun? One generation passes away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth for ever. The sun rises, and the sun goes down, and hastens to his place where he arose. The wind goes towards the south, and turns about unto the north. It whirleth about continually, and the wind returneth again according to his circuits. All the rivers run into the sea, and yet the sea is not full. Unto the place from whence the rivers came, thither they return again. So he's describing cycles. It's the cycle of the sun, the cycle of the wind, the cycle of water. And this is very perceptive for those days. And he says, verse 8, all things are full of labour, man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, seeing this is new? It has already been of all time, which was before us. There is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance after these days. And then verse 12, I the preacher was king over Israel in Jerusalem, and I gave my heart to seek and to search out all wisdom concerning all things that are done under heaven. This sore travail hath God given to the sons of men to be exercised therewith. I have seen all the works that are done under the heaven, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. Wow. What a revelation. You know, when we look at men today, we see them struggling to learn. We see them struggling to get money. We see them struggling to get women. We see them struggling to find purpose. And Solomon, this greatest man who ever lives, he says, listen, I've been there and I've done that, and I've had all the money, and I've had all the power, and I've had all the influence. I've been king, and yet in it all it's empty actually, and it's vexation of spirit. Verse 17, I gave my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceived that which is also vexation of spirit, for in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth in knowledge increaseth in sorrow. Wow. Now you cannot help but think that this is a rather sour view of life. You see, Solomon had become, at this stage, a bitter man. He had thought that in wisdom he would find fulfillment of life. He thought that if he gathered more knowledge he would be fulfilled. He thought that if he had more women he would be fulfilled. He thought that if he had more houses he'd be fulfilled. If he had more servants he'd be fulfilled. If he thought he understood everything in the world he would be fulfilled. But he says, I've got all that, and it doesn't fulfill. Nothing fulfills as I would like it to do. He says, I said to my heart, go to now, I will prove thee with mirth, and therefore enjoy pleasure. But it was empty. There's a great cult of laughter today, and of humour, and of comedy. But there comes a point in which the laughter stops. And then he says, verse 4, I made great works, I built houses, I made gardens, I made orchards. And then he goes into landscaping. He says, and then he goes into, I got me servants and maidens and all that, and cattle and sheep and silver and gold and the peculiar treasures of kings and provinces. I got men singers and women singers and the delights of the sons of men. He went into musical instruments of all sorts, and he increased greatly. Entertainment he went into. And then I looked, he says, verse 11, on all the works that my hand had wrought, and all the labour that I had laboured to do, and behold, all was vanity and vexation of spirit, and there was no profit under the sun. So I turned myself to behold wisdom and madness and folly. For what can a man do that cometh after the king, even that which he hath already done? Then I saw that wisdom excelleth folly, as far as light excelleth darkness. Then I said, verse 15, in my heart, as it happeneth to the fool, and so it happeneth even to me. And why was I then more wise? Then I said in my heart, this also is vanity. For there is no remembrance of the wise any more than there is a remembrance of the fool when they die. Therefore I hated life, because the work that is wrought under the sun is grievous to me. It's all pointless. It all vexes my spirit. Wow. Verse 20, then I went about to cause my heart to despair of all the labour which I took under the sun. And there is a man whose labour is in wisdom and in knowledge and in equity. Yet to that man that hath not laboured therein shall he leave it for his person. He goes on to say that man is like a beast. He's like a beast. He lives and he dies, and that's the end of him. From a human point of view, that's all there is. From a human point of view, we are just creatures of this world that have breath, like a dog has breath and dies. And in death, men and animals appear from mankind to be the same. In chapter 3 he says, to everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck up that which is planted. So he goes right on down. He says there's a time to rend, a time to sow, time to keep silence, a time to speak, and so on. And then he says, what profit hath he that worketh in that in which he laboureth? I have seen the travail which God hath given to the sons of men to be exercised in it. He hath made everything beautiful in his time. Also he hath set the world in his heart, so that no man can find out the work of God, that God maketh from the beginning to the end. I know that there is no good in them. But as for man to rejoice, to do good to his life, and also every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labour, it is the gift of God. I know that whatsoever God doeth, it shall be for ever, and nothing can be put to it, nor anything taken from it, because God doeth it. Wow, that men should fear before him. Wow. First, move on down, and moreover I saw under the sun the place of judgment, that wickedness was there, and the place of righteousness, that iniquity was there. I said in my heart, God shall judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time there for every purpose and every work. I said in my heart concerning the estate of the sons of men, that God might manifest them, and that they might see that they themselves are beasts. For that which befalleth the sons of men befalleth beasts, every one of them befalleth them. As the one dieth, so dieth the other. And we come down to verse 22. Wherefore, and this is my password for today, wherefore I perceive that there is nothing better than that a man should rejoice in his own works, for that is his portion. For who shall bring him to see what shall come after him? And so what Solomon is saying is, look, it's all fairly pointless. It's all fairly pointless. You're going to die like a dog, and you'll be buried like a dog, and your body will rot like a dog. This is human perspective. He says, so therefore, do the work that you do and rejoice in the work that you do, because there'll come a day when it'll all be gone. There'll come a day when it'll all be gone. Wow. What an interesting thing. You see, this is the height of human wisdom. This is the height of the very best a man could ever have. And without God, it's all pointless. It's all a vexation of spirit. It's all vanity. So there we are. What a fascinating insight this is going to be. Look forward to speaking to you again tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.